Now we have, I call it Nick. It's so hard to say your name, of CORO Way, and she have a planner or a journal that we'll talk about, but she is also an author of other books. So do tell the folks about yourself as well as the CORO Way. CORO Way. Tell us about that and what does that mean?
Okay, so hi to everybody on YouTube. It's my first time going live on YouTube ever, so I'm super excited. My name is Nick Austin. I am the founder and CEO of CORO and Company, and which is a well, it is a luxury stationery and faith-based business. Besides selling stationery, drinkware, and apparel, I'm also a self-published author. I have written two books. My first book that I ever wrote was called I Choose Me 30 Days of Self-Love. My second book is called Since Find Your Power. And this is my third book that I'm releasing on the day of the event on August the 16th here in Newport News. It is called The CORO Way, which is 52 it's a 52 week guided journal where you are going about getting establishing your relationship with God, or if you already have your relationship with God, just staying on track and just just trying to keep it all together while we're in in the world that we are living in, because the world we living in is getting crazy as the time go by. And I tell people all the time, it's time, because you it if you're not right with God right now, this is the best time to get right with God or whomever you worship. It is time, because like my grandmother used to tell me when I was a little girl, the world is coming is the world is coming to an end soon. And I'm like, when, grandma? And I never understood what she was saying it. But now as I'm getting older, I'm saying it to my kids now. And so I always tell them, it's time to get right with God, time to get right with whomever you worship with. So this is how the CORO Way came about. The CORO Way, CORO itself, it stands for C, it stands for chosen. O stands for overcomer. R stands for renewed. And the other O stands for on purpose. And with
Mhm.
those four pillars, we're basically just talking about, excuse me, my eyes running. We're basically just talking about dealing with your personal growth. So that's
Mm.
basically what the CORO Way is going to be about. I'm actually making this handmade myself. So we're doing all of this in house. I'm really excited about that. And like I said, it will be showcased at the book fair on August the 16th. That is the actual release date.
Wow.
Pre-orders will start tomorrow.
Awesome, awesome. And I had no idea of knowing that. How awesome. I just had the date open. Hello to Burpin Lice Cookie. Thank you for coming in. Do share, swipe, and share. And this is Nick Coru Way and Company. And Erin, thank you for coming here. And so she's talking about her journal. So it's a 52-week guide journal. And you said this journal is to help readers break free from fear. So how does this 52 um, week journal cause the readers to break free
So
from
basically,
fear? Hmm.
what I'm trying to do is basically teach people how to break free from that fear, that perfectionism, and that people pleasing, because that's what I am a true testament of. This is more personal for me, just like my first book, I Choose Me. This is my second personal thing that I like to do, that I'm actually creating again. But for me, it's more of 52 weeks, because sometimes you can sit there and say to yourself, okay, I am healed, but then have a relapse.
Hmm.
And how
Hmm.
many relapses can you go through before you say enough is enough? And
Hmm.
I can attest to the fact that I have had relapse after relapse after relapse, where I even had to go back to my own books and read what it is that I wrote to encourage myself. So
Hmm.
with this being a guided journal, it'll be more so of, I'm giving you a prayer, I'm giving you something to relate on dealing with modern times, and then I'm asking you, to write about what you're dealing with, and then I'm asking you to pray over it
Mm,
yourself. Write your own
mm,
little prayer.
mhm,
It doesn't have to be long, it can be short, or I'm asking you to do your own affirmation, you know, to write down something that pertains to you. So that's basically how we're talking about just helping readers trying to break free from that fear, that perfectionism, that people pleasing, because all of that can literally, it'll take you to the grave if you don't pay attention. It'll drive you
mm,
crazy inside of your own mind. And it's 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 um it's a crazy thing that we're dealing with now. I'm seeing more people, I'm hearing more people talking about how they are how they are coming out of people pleasing, how they are sick and tired of people pleasing, how they are tired of living in fear. So I was just making it my mission to figure out how can I teach people how to break from it. Well, the only way that I know how is to become the example. And because I have gone through it myself, this is the reason why I'm creating it, because I am the example. My way may not work for you, and
mhm,
your way may not work for me, but at least I can give you some guidance. This, I can give you guidance on what it is that you can do, different tips and tricks that you can utilize to help yourself get past these things. It's not this journal is not a fix it. It's not a fixer upper.
mhm.
It's a guided journal for a reason. It's going to help you along your way. It may take you more than 52 weeks to get your life together. It
Yeah.
took me it took me 41, and I'm still on the pathway of trying to get my life together. So my thing is, it's not a fix, it's not a one size fits all. It can come at any given, you can pick up this journal at any given moment. You can actually start this journal at any given moment. So there is no set date that you can start. You start
Mhm.
when you get ready. You start when you get sick and tired of being sick and tired of doing certain things that is not authentic to yourself. So
So
that's what this is about.
so true. Again, hello to I see Wendy out there. Hey, hey, hey to you and Toxic. I see you there, and I hope you have some comfort. I see what you wrote there, and I hope you have some comfort pretty soon.
Mhm.
Um, Also, you just spoke about the perfection. What does perfection mean to you? Because some people, perfection may be a little different than others. Some might be a stickler at specific perfections. And you said in this one, this is one of those stop that perfectional or perfectionism. So tell us about that. Does that throw you completely off a person where there's have to be some type of when it's doing whatever in life because we're not perfect, but that you talk about, how do you uh show what that looks like to others?
So perfectionism for me, the reason why I'm actually trying to move away from perfectionism is because I am a perfectionist. My area of perfectionism comes to me doing things a certain way, or trying to make sure that I have this right before I move forward with something else. It may take me, how can I put it? It could be an idea that I'm sitting on, and I'm trying to perfect this idea in my head without realizing it could have been it's 6 months later and I'm still trying to perfect this.
Mhm.
Sometimes that's what perfectionism looks like. For me, that's what it looks like for me. Like, for an
Mhm.
example, it could be an idea that I have in my mind that I want to introduce to the world. And sometimes I'll sit on that idea for maybe months or years at a time because I'm still trying to perfect it, versus putting it out there and
Mhm.
perfecting it along the way. That is what the perfectionism to me is, what I'm talking about in this book. You got some people that act like that. They'll sit there and wait on something to come to them, or they'll just sit on it. Like, you got some people that are wanting to become business owners, but they sit on the idea so long because they too busy trying to perfect it, and they trying to hit it all in the one row. As an entrepreneur, you will not hit it all in a
Mhm.
row. You're gonna
Mhm.
miss more shots than you're going to take. And I know that that quote comes from Michael Jordan because that's so true.
It's so.
So I look at it as that is one type of perfectionism. Another type of perfectionism could be um even so much in your home.
Mhm.
Certain things has to be a certain way. in your house, one disruption, and you just lose your freaking mind over it.
That's
That
so
could be
true.
another way of perfectionism that people can deal with. There's multiple ways of perfectionism. I'm just trying to be the example to show you that if God tells us that that we are made in his image, but we also know that we are not perfect, because the only perfect person is Jesus. So why do we have to try so hard trying to perfect ourselves even in our own spiritual life to do what is necessary just to become a member of his kingdom? He what I've learned growing up is that if you read the word, if you are a believer in God, a lot of the mistakes that a lot of those people have made in the Old Testament, they made some horrible mistakes.
Yes,
But God utilized their mistakes and turned them into his own good. That is what I'm trying to explain to people, that it is okay that if you make a mistake, he still loves you regardless. But you have to know that it is okay to make a mistake. You have to understand that it is okay to not be perfect. Sometimes you got people that are too busy trying to be perfect for other people,
that's so true. So
and that
true.
runs right into people pleasing.
So true. I'm going to reset again. I see Sarah. Sarah Hamed, thank you for being here. And our guest here is author Nick Austin, and her she's CORO, if I said
Yes.
that CORO way. And she gave, if you play the replay, those acronyms of that CORO way and company. And so you also talk about, this is another bullet point about the journal, is you be. So let's talk about that. So I find it, I was talking to my daughter, my youngest daughter, we always talk all, is that what's wrong with a person pay? But some people have God gifts and we don't look at that. Example with myself when I was younger, I used to say, people was like what they want to be when they grow up. And I hear, and it's true, don't be asking them that because they're going to change when they get older. But the thing is, somebody said, what do you want to be when you get older? I said, I wanted to be a missionary.
Hmm.
That might be her first, Wendy's first time hearing that. And you know what they, and that, but still to this day, I still talk to people, witness people. Don't try to beat it in and make them feel like, just run to the Lord. And, you'll ask that question, do you know the Lord? Or, do you go to a certain church? Not to say to come to mine, just go to God. I can't
Right.
help you. So with that, embracing what God created them to be, tell us about that.
So one thing I have learned in my journey of being on this side of the earth is that I like who I am, and then I did not realize that I've always been this set person until until I got to my late 30s.
Hmm.
I never liked doing what people told me to do. And my mother could attest to that. I never liked
Hmm.
listening to other people. I always
Hmm.
like doing things my way. And it's not, I don't look at it as being misbehaving. I don't look at it as being disrespectful. The reason why I say that is because growing up, my parents allowed me to do things on my own.
Hmm.
It's not that they were neglecting me. They never neglected me from nothing. Right is right and wrong is wrong. I got the discipline just like everybody else. You do something wrong, you get spanked. Yes, I got it too. It was just more it was more so of my parents instilling in me that you could do whatever you want to do, no matter what occupation, no matter what it is, long as it's illegal, you
Yeah.
can do it. So
Hmm.
my dream job was to become an entrepreneur.
Wow.
And I remember writing it down in my book. I had a little diary and I wrote down exactly what I wanted to do. I wanted to become an entrepreneur. I wanted to have a nonprofit organization. I wanted to give back to the community. I wanted to do all these things. And now that I'm living my dream job, it's more so of, oh, you're an entrepreneur. Well, that means that you sit at home and do nothing. No, 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 no.
Oh,
That ain't it.
don't you? Oh, girl, we gotta
That
pause.
ain't it.
Wait, pause right there. Just pause right there. I had to learn that myself too. People think just because you don't clock in, you don't have a job. My
Right,
husband, with me working from home, he always asks me how I'm doing, how was my day, even though I'm working from home.
right.
I got a chance. Always say afforded by him retiring, and I would say that and blow the whistle on that. He afforded me a chance to raise my own children. My
Hmm.
children don't know, even though they were smaller when the babysitter was around, and my sister, she said, "Hey, Ellen, add up." We were living in California. She said, "Add up what you bring home and what you take out." When I
Right.
got through, I was only having bringing home 25 cents after all of that. And so when they had like the babysitter, she wasn't abusing them in like a verbal, like a fist way, fighting,
Hmm.
touching. She just cussed, and like the kids wasn't used to people cursing. Long story short, and then I was like, even that kind of gave me a combination. But you don't get a tax write off for being at home, staying home with your kids. And it's looked at more now as a great job. But just like you said, you beg to differ. Let's start back right there with you working from home.
Right. So I started working from home April of 2017, 3 months before I married my husband. Because and I walked off my job. I was just done with the workforce. I was tired of the abuse that I was going through. Some of the issues I brought on myself, in which I did. I will say I did. But most times, when it comes to building somebody's business, I have visions. I do. I have visions of where businesses can go and how I can become a part of people's visions and take the business to another level. I do that a lot with other businesses because I always want to see people win, no matter what.
Hmm.
And long story short, when it came down to this last job that I had, I got tired of people telling me what I could and could not do amongst the ramifications of my job description. And all I wanted to do was, because I was moving down here, was to locate my office to this location here in Newport News versus in Richmond, and they wouldn't let me do it, so I walked off the job. I mean, yeah, I cussed them out, I sure did, and then I walked off the job. So because they got under my skin, so I left. But it was the best thing for me. And at that time, my mother did not understand why I did what I did, and I told her, but God has a plan.
Hmm.
And I knew it was time for me to become an entrepreneur. I talked to my husband, who was then my fiance, about it. And he said, well, technically, I don't want you to work anyway.
Mm.
So if you want to start a business from home, I'm all for it. Just tell me how much it costs. Hello, somebody.
Wow,
That just
that's
opened the door
beautiful.
for me.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful.
So
So,
fast
mhm,
forward to now, I've been an entrepreneur. I don't trade nothing for it. I mean, I love what I do. Um, I'm not where I want to be, but I'm also not where I used to be.
mhm,
So I am grateful for just doing what it is that I do. I love what it is that I do. I get to meet people. I get to, interact with my customers and everything. But yeah, being an entrepreneur, it's now it's now the newest thing since sliced cake. I mean,
mhm.
back in the day, being an entrepreneur, working from home, it was like impossible.
That's
People
right.
made it impossible. It
Mhm.
was only certain jobs that you could do where you could do those things. Now, because of the pandemic, it is now possible. There are so
Yes,
many avenues that you can go down to become an entrepreneur, to become, to work from home and do the things that you really want to do. Plus, it brings me a peace of mind. Ain't nobody in my house.
that's
Everybody's
good.
in school. But now that both of my kids are graduated from high school, they're going off to college. I'm still by myself. My husband is at work. So I still get that peace
Mhm,
that
mhm.
I long for every single day. I will continue to get the peace that I've always gotten. So yeah, being an entrepreneur is great. I
It
get to live
is.
my job every day.
It is, and it's a lot of. I'll just speak for myself. There's a lot of things to do, and being a one man show, you being a one man show or one woman show, it's a lot of work that goes into it. Be creative, innovative, and things may not work and then you try something else. So you and I know how to do that. And you mentioned, you said God had a plan. Is that scary? Because when somebody say trust God and God had a plan, and here you come off a job, a 9 to 5. I don't know how much you made an hour. Maybe just imagine you made some pretty good money from there, and then you coming to trusting. How was that coming from 9 to 5 or corporate back to home and being an entrepreneur? So were you afraid to take God's plan versus, going out to corporate once again?
Um, I did when I walked off my job, I didn't consult God at all.
Mm-hmm.
And at that time, I wasn't in that mindset of consulting him and letting him lead. I mean, that wasn't the thing. It was just more so of I don't want to do this. But
Mm-hmm.
the very next day is when it hit me that I walked off this job. What am I to do? And I heard God say to me, I have supplied you with gifts. It's time to use the gifts I've given you. So one of the gifts that he gave me the opportunity to become a notary. So with that, I remember my mom's ex-fiance being a notary. And so I just did a playback in my mind of all the things he did. And I
Mm-hmm.
said, okay, well, let me invest in this is what I'm gonna do. Being a notary is what carried me through, even
Wow.
down here to where I moved here to Newport News after marrying my husband. It carried me all the way to here. And
Mm-hmm.
then I said, you know what, I'm tired of sitting at home. Let me get a job. So I went back to doing what I would used to do, which is work for different agencies and make money weekly. I started doing that, but then I got fired on my day off 3 months after the fact, and that was only because I was doing my job so well that other people that were there started envying me. And I literally heard God tell me, didn't you just ask me to provide you with work from home opportunities, and then you turn around and went to work? He said, and
Wow.
this is exactly what you get. Now sit at home like you told me to, and I will give you the desires of your heart. And a
Wow.
couple months later, that's when my husband said to me, why don't you just run my business and work behind the scenes? So that's what I did. I worked behind the scenes for him and I learned everything from him because he was a business owner before I met him.
Wow.
So I just worked behind the scenes, did the paperwork for him. I still had my notary license. So I was doing field inspections as well as loan signings. I continued that. And then when the pandemic came, that messed me up. So that stopped. And then that's
Mm-hmm.
when CORO came. But before CORO came, I started with paparazzi because I said I wanted to start when I started this business, I wanted to be able to have some money to sustain it. And so
Mm-hmm.
I took all the money that I made out of paparazzi, all the money that I made under my husband's business that I was selling on my end, and all of the investments that him, my mom, and my son put into my business. And that's how COVO came about. And now we getting ready to hit 5 years, December the 5th.
Yay! And I like what you said about investing in yourself. So since you went there, some people like doing the author shows that I do, and you doing what you do. How important or vital is it to invest in yourself?
It is very, very important to invest in yourself, whether that means taking courses, whether that means taking classes online, whether they're free or paid, or just, getting to put yourself out there, grabbing a mentor. It's very important. When I started my business, I was actually Coro nails. So I was creating press on nails for people. And I remember scrolling on Instagram trying to find somebody that was doing press on nails that I could ask questions. And the people that I was asking did not want to answer me. They wouldn't reply in the DMs. But it was this one young lady that I reached out to. And me and her have been, actually, she is one of my best friends now, going on 5 years. We have
Wow.
never met in person. We only
Wow.
know each other through Instagram.
Wow. That's mm-hmm. Uh-oh.
Was looking for a mentor, so I ended up becoming
Wow, mentoring each other.
being to do with one another. We was doing the same thing. She sold press on nails, so did I. She was doing body oil, so did I. So what we did was we decided over competition. That was our motto for everything. And so many people started to dislike her.
Mhm. Mhm. Mm.
March to the beat of your own drum, and
Mhm.
nobody can change you. So when I learned that, I decided to take a different approach. And
Mhm.
I said, well, let me go and get on a podcast because I'm ready to vent. That's how CORO is a Crush came about.
Yes, you're gonna have to tell us about that. And if you guys are still here, thank you for being here. Thank you for those hearts up there. We normally just go 5 to 3 to 5 minutes, but this has been so good. But I want to ask you two more things, and then tell us about your podcast. But before you tell us about that, you mentioned that you had two books,
Yes.
and when you talk about uh, you choose you, and that is 30 days of self love. Nowadays, self love look like it's mean. What does
Yes.
self love? Give us that depiction or the clear view through your lens and your journal or your book at this time talking about self love.
So with I choose me, at that time it was more so focusing on, you know, teaching people how to put yourself first. And the reason why I was doing that is because I have learned throughout my sicknesses that I can't take care of other people if I'm sick. I
Right.
can't help out others if I'm not well. And so the only way that I can help out other people is that I have to get myself together. So that's how I choose me came about. And now that I look at it, being that it was 3 years ago when I wrote that book, I actually did some soul searching and realized that people are constantly saying, well, if I focus on me, that's me being selfish.
Mm-hmm.
If not, that's taken away from the kids' time, or
Yeah.
that's taken away from my partner's time. And I'm like, well, let me ask you something. Your partner, if it's a male, watches football, right? And they'll tell me, yeah. Does he tell you get out the room? Does he go into his man cave? And they'll say, yeah. I said, so that's his me time. Why don't you get yours?
Come on now.
What's the difference? Explain it to me. When your kids
Yeah.
have a little funky attitude or they playing the game, that's their me time. What's
Mm-hmm.
the difference? If they doing what they want to do for themselves to get themselves, get themselves together, what is your excuse as to why you won't do it for yourself? And I hear so many women talk about, well, I was raised on this and I was raised on that. And I'm like, well, do you know that the generations have changed?
Yeah.
The generations have changed. And I give you an example. My mom, she was not raised on the fact that she had to learn how to put herself first. She was
Mm-hmm.
raised on the fact that everybody came before her.
That's
But
true.
as my grandmother got older, my grandmother taught my mom to, when she got her first job, she said, Angel, before you do anything, buy yourself one thing out of your paycheck and then pay the bills.
Mm.
So she passed that down to me. I passed that down to my daughter.
Mm-hmm.
And I taught my husband how to do that. I taught my son how to do that. Now I'm teaching people how to do the same. And that is a means of self-love because
Mm-hmm.
you're taking care of yourself. Now the word also talks about that you don't want to become selfish, but what God was referencing to, because I know a whole lot of folks out there, y'all babble bumpers, I get it, but there's a whole lot of folks out there that talk about, well, wait a minute, you basically saying that it's about self-love, that you're being selfish. No, 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 no. The word basically said that there's nothing wrong with taking care of yourself. You just can't have an ego when you're
Mm-hmm.
taking care of yourself.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And that what makes the difference between people doing self-love their way and people doing self-love God's way. That's
Okay.
how, that's what I'm teaching. And now in the Coro way, how to put yourself first, but doing it God's way.
Awesome. There's your other book that talk about sis find your power. When you
Yes.
say that, and we talked a moment ago, when you say that, are you talking about a class of women or women in totality? Let's talk about this.
So when I wrote Sis Find Your Power, it was during a dark time in a lot of women's lives, regardless of race. So many women were going through things, including my own daughter. My daughter lost her grandmother during the time of me writing that book. But not only that, she just broke up with her first love, just dumped her. So listening to her going and watching her go through her issues, and also watching listening to my mom going through her issues, because at the time she broke up with her boyfriend, and then I'm hearing other women in the street talking about their husbands, and then meeting up with my girlfriends, they talking
Hmm.
about their issues and then having issues of my own. I'm like, you know what, I am fed up. It's time to release the second book, Sis Find Your Power.
Hmm.
And in that book, I'm basically giving it to you raw. I'm giving it to you street. I'm giving it to you with every piece of emotion. Because at
Hmm.
this point, it's like, I need you to find your power no matter what race you are,
Hmm.
no
Hmm.
matter what age you are. I need you to find your power and take your power back and stop giving your power to people that don't deserve it.
Mm.
Sometimes it's family, sometimes it's friends, sometimes it could be your spouse, sometimes it could be your own children. That's where that came from. When I wrote that book, I was coming from a place of hate. I was coming from a place of hatred. I was coming from a place of, I am sick and tired of watching these women, including my daughter, go through what they're going through. And I need to write this book as an anthem, letting women know you
Mm.
need to declare who you are and within yourself and stand on your own without relying on anybody but Jesus Himself. So that's where that book came from.
Wow.
And that book actually sold more than the first book.
Wow. So will you have all three of your books at the event?
I plan to. I
Okay.
plan to.
Okay.
That's my goal.
Okay.
That's my goal.
Now tell us about before we go. And like I said, we know each other, but we went over. But anyway, tell us about your podcast and where they can reach you, and how they can subscribe to the things you're doing.
Okay, so I have two podcasts. The main podcast is called CORO is a Crush. And CORO is a Crush is where I'm doing like real talk about what's going on in today's world and learning how to incorporate God into that space. The second podcast is called The Self Love Sermons, which is a 5 minute weekly podcast. I mean, yeah, weekly podcast, because that's exactly what it is. It's a 5 minute devotional that I'm doing with you, where I am talking to you one on one, having a 5 minute conversation just to get you through the week. And you can actually find both of those podcasts on Spotify. You can find them on Apple iTunes, or wherever you listen to your podcast, whichever app you listen to.
I love it because I listened to. I don't know. Maybe I need to put it on notification, but I did listen to one of them. I got a chance to hear uh, the 5 minute powerful.
Thank you.
And where you say folks can reach you at, as far as where they can connect with you.
So you can connect with me on Instagram, Facebook, as well as on Pinterest, because I'm on Pinterest as well, at Coro and Company. But my home is Instagram. You could, if you follow me on Instagram, you will know everything that is going on in real time with Coro and Company. If you would like to shop with the business, you can go to my website, coroandcompany.com. The word "and" is spelled all the way out. I'm also in the process of creating my nonprofit organization called the Coro Cares Foundation,
Hmm.
where we are giving back to those in need of self love. I also have my initiative, which is called the Soul Script Initiative, where I actually create self love journals. And for every two self love journals, we donate one to someone who's in need of a self love reset, whether it's in the community, whether it's someone that subscribes in the emails, or whether it's at vendor shows. Lately, I've been doing them at vendor shows just by walking around listening to what people are going through. And I just choose amongst those people and I just walk up to them and hand them a journal and a pen
That's
and tell
awesome.
them to write. Yeah.
That is so awesome. Oh, so before we end, I want to go back to your 52-week journal that you have.
Yes.
Is titled the CORO Way? Is that the title of the journal as well?
Yes, so the title of the journal is called The CORO Way, a 52-week guided journal helping you to walk in your God given purpose.
So is it a self write? Because when I look at journals, I look at journals as there. I guess I'm looking at it more as a devotional type. That's what's in my mind. So is this journal like devotional type where you can read and write and reflect, or
Yes.
okay,
Uh-huh. So
all right.
basically what I'm giving you is I'm giving you the opportunity on how to utilize the journal so it is a devotional. And I'm either going to give you a scripture or I'm going to give you an affirmation to start off with, and then I'm going to give you information in it that's going to relate to the word, and then I give you the opportunity to write down what you're feeling, write down what you're going through, what you
Mm-hmm.
want to change, and then you get to write your own prayer at the bottom. That's
Awesome.
for yourself. Yeah.
Awesome, awesome. Well, thank you for being here. Thank you for showing up for you, as I always say. Do share, swipe, and share. And Nick will be at our event here in Newport News, Virginia, Red Roof Inn. I don't know the address by heart or anything like that, but she will be there live August 16th. And that is from noon to 5. I'm saying noon to 5, noon to 4. I'm sorry. And so you will get something in the email as we get our author. Roster, if you will, together. You'll get something from me. You'll get an itinerary of everything, and they'll be sent to your email. So we're
Okay.
getting close to it. And do share, swipe, and share what you're doing, where you're going to be at. Have an amazing night. Hopefully, I know you're going to feel better on the foot. Try not to do too much. And thank you for even still doing it. Even though you're kind of down a little bit. So blessings and prayers to you, and thank you for your amazing things that you do. Tell
Thank you.
tell Will, Mr. Will, we love both of y'all. And you guys have an amazing night because I know he's gonna take care of you. You hard headed. You're gonna try to do something.
I already tried to walk. He already yelled at me earlier today.
All
He been
right.
yelling at me all day today because I've
Be
been
good.
trying to walk.
Be good, girl.
I will.
All
Thank
right. Have an
you.
amazing night. Thank you for
You
showing up.
too.
All
Thank
right.
you.
You know to hit that X and it'll get you out of here.
Okay.
All right. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you for sharing, swiping, and sharing. Ellen Sutter of ESP Presents and ESP Book Chats. We did go over. This is normally a 3 to 5 minute. So we were talking about her journal. Usually, if it's a book or a story, you guys will get. I think I'm gonna try to have that at 10 minutes, three to 10 minutes. But we'll see how that go. And also, if you're over on the Facebook side, our is ESP Presents. This is our book of the month. This is what we're going to be discussing. I did get a little glimpse of it. We're kicking it off tomorrow, and we'll be talking about Tommy Davidson book. And I'm interested in this story. This is his true life story, and this kicks off tomorrow. You guys have an amazing day. Thank you guys for being here. Again, Ellen Sutter of ESP Presents and ESP Book Chats, where we bring page turners your way. You guys, thank you for being in here in this live. I don't know how you got the notification, but thank you so much. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for watching. Have an amazing night. Good night. Bye bye. Okay, I'm having trouble putting it down, guys. There we go.